Hello and welcome to Project What If, where curious minds come to explore.
What if time travel was real? Imagine waking up one day and realizing your lab experiment didn't just break the rules, it shattered reality itself. A single electrical surge in 2157 sent Dr. Elias Voss tumbling into a world where gravity shifted, data flickered from centuries past, and history no longer obeyed its own script. This wasn't a machine or theory, it was an accident that rewrote everything, and the consequences were already unfolding before his eyes.
The year was 2157 when Dr. Elias Voss first glimpsed the possibility of what he would later call the fracture. It wasn't an experiment gone wrong or a theoretical breakthrough, but rather a moment so improbable it defied all logic, an accident in his laboratory that shattered every assumption about time and reality. The room was dimly lit by bioluminescent panels, casting soft blues across the walls as Voss worked tirelessly to refine his quantum entanglement model. He had spent decades chasing whispers of the impossible, driven by a singular question: what if the past could be rewritten? But it wasn't until an electrical surge knocked out all systems that he noticed something strange. The air around him seemed heavier, like gravity itself was shifting. His heart pounded as his instruments flickered with data points from centuries before. The realization struck him like lightning. Time had been breached not through a machine or theory but by accident. The implications were staggering. If the past could be accessed and even altered, what did that mean for history? For humanity itself? Voss couldn't contain his excitement as he shared his discovery with Ava Langford, his brilliant assistant whose sharp wit matched her relentless curiosity. Together, they began to unravel the mechanics of time travel, though their journey was far from simple. The technology required more than just advanced physics. It demanded a profound understanding of human nature and ethics. Their first test took them back to 1895 London, where cobblestone streets hummed with the energy of an industrial revolution in full swing. As they stepped into this ancient world, Voss felt both exhilaration and trepidation. This was no longer just science. It was a bridge between eras that could never be undone. The journey had only begun, yet already the weight of their discovery loomed over them like an unspoken truth. Time travel wasn't merely about reaching into history, it was about reshaping everything. In 1895 London, Ava Langford found herself standing in a world both foreign and strangely familiar. The air carried the scent of coal smoke and damp stone as horse-drawn carriages rattled past narrow alleyways. Street vendors called out their wares while children chased each other through the bustling crowds, oblivious to the two figures watching them from behind a towering pub. Voss adjusted his coat, eyes scanning for any signs that they had indeed landed in this era. Every detail, the way sunlight filtered through gaslit windows, the clatter of hooves on cobblestones, confirmed their presence in 1895. Ava exhaled slowly as she took in her surroundings. "This is incredible," she murmured, voice barely above a whisper. She turned to Voss, her eyes alight with wonder. "We're really here." Voss nodded, his fingers brushing the edge of his jacket where he had hidden their small recording device, a delicate instrument designed to capture as much data as possible without drawing attention. "Yes," he said softly, "and we have a responsibility. We can't alter anything." His words were firm, but Ava could see the conflict in his gaze. They moved through the city with careful steps, documenting everything from architecture to dialects, their minds racing with possibilities. But as they walked, Voss couldn't shake the feeling that history was already being rewritten, not by them, but by something unseen. The realization settled uneasily in his chest, like a shadow waiting to grow. The journey had only begun, yet already the weight of their discovery loomed over them like an unspoken truth. Time travel wasn't merely about reaching into history, it was about reshaping everything. Their first test proved that they could move through time without being noticed. Yet as they continued their research in 1895 London, a strange anomaly began to manifest, an inconsistency in the data stream from their recording device. At first, Voss dismissed it as an interference caused by the density of human activity, but when Ava pointed out repeated deviations in temporal coordinates, he knew something was wrong. The issue arose during one particular observation. They had been monitoring the rise of industrial innovation and stumbled upon a pivotal moment: two men arguing on the steps of Westminster Abbey. One, a political reformer named Thomas Ashford, stood defiantly against an unnamed figure whose intentions were unclear. As Voss recorded their conversation, he noticed something strange. The other man's face was eerily familiar. Ava froze beside him as she saw it too. He looks like someone we know. Voss swallowed hard, his mind racing through the implications. They had no way of knowing if this figure had been born yet, or whether they were witnessing an event that should not have occurred. The realization sent a chill down his spine. What if time travel wasn't just about observation? What if it was already changing history? Their hearts pounded as they watched the scene unfold, caught between awe and dread. As their understanding of temporal anomalies deepened, Voss and Ava found themselves drawn to another era, one that would test not only their scientific acumen but also their moral compass. In 1924 Paris, the air was thick with a different kind of energy. It pulsed through the city like an electric current, humming beneath the surface of its bustling streets. Here, in the heart of Europe's cultural and political upheaval, history felt more volatile than ever before. The couple had landed on the cusp of a revolutionary moment, one that would shape the course of modern civilization. As they navigated through narrow alleyways lined with crumbling facades, Voss could feel the weight of their mission pressing down on him. Their initial curiosity about this period, the artistic ferment and political unrest, had quickly given way to an unsettling awareness. Every action they took now had consequences that rippled far beyond their control. Ava's frustration grew as she watched her mentor struggle with his own doubts. "We have the knowledge," she said, voice taut with tension, "but what if we're not meant to use it?" Voss exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. "What if we are?" His words carried an edge of uncertainty that made Ava pause. They had spent so long chasing answers about time travel's potential, yet now they faced the hardest question: was their role as observers or architects? The city around them seemed to echo this dilemma. Each corner held both promise and peril. As Voss stepped forward into a crowded cafe where revolutionaries debated politics over glasses of absinthe, he couldn't shake the feeling that history itself was watching him. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on their shoulders as they realized how deeply entwined their actions were with the tides of time. In 1945, amidst the ruins of a world reshaped by war and revolution, Voss and Ava stood at an unimaginable crossroads. The air was thick with tension, charged with both loss and possibility. They had returned to this era not as scholars or explorers, but as reluctant participants in a history that now seemed to have been altered by their very presence. Every step they took felt like treading on sacred ground, both for the people who lived here and for themselves. The city was still recovering from the devastation of conflict, its streets lined with makeshift homes and remnants of destruction. People moved cautiously through the rubble-laden avenues, eyes darting between strangers as if searching for threats that no longer existed. Voss could see it in their faces, a mixture of hope and exhaustion, but also a quiet determination to rebuild. Ava clutched her jacket tightly, scanning the horizon with an intensity that suggested she was both exhilarated and terrified by what they had uncovered. "We didn't mean for this to happen," she whispered as if speaking to herself more than Voss, but even as she said it, doubt crept into her voice. Voss nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on a group of soldiers returning from the front lines. Their faces were etched with fatigue and sorrow, their eyes hollowed by war's toll. Their faces were etched with fatigue and sorrow, their eyes hollowed by war's toll. He knew then that they had crossed an invisible threshold, one where time travel was no longer just about observation or discovery, but about consequence. Every moment in this era felt like it carried the weight of countless lives. They had reached a point where there were no more questions, only the certainty that their actions, however unintentional, had already rewritten history's course. The final jump brought them to 1956, yet time itself seemed to have shifted. As they stepped into this moment in history, Voss and Ava found themselves standing not just at a particular point in the timeline, but on its precipice, an era shaped by their choices for better or worse. The city around them bore signs of both progress and lingering scars from what had come before. New buildings rose amidst crumbling facades. Children played near street vendors who sold wares once considered luxuries. But as they moved through this transformed world, a profound realization settled over Voss like an unspoken truth. Time travel was not about control or certainty. It was about consequence and legacy. Every choice they had made in the past had shaped what lay before them now, yet there were no guarantees of where their journey would take them next. Ava's gaze lingered on a mural depicting scenes from history that felt both familiar and altered, a testament to how much time itself had changed under their hands. "We didn't intend to change anything," she said softly, her voice tinged with regret. Voss nodded slowly, his eyes reflecting the weight of what they had done. Their journey through time was not just about discovery. It was a reminder that some truths were inescapable, and that history's course could never be fully undone. Found this interesting? Subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like, share it out, and drop your questions or ideas in the comments. Until our next adventure.